Hi, this is Mr. Ferguson. I'm going to go over our 8th grade science procedures for doing test corrections in order to be able to retest. In your Google Classroom, we'll have a topic set up for test corrections, and in there will be an instruction sheet and a worksheet for each one of the tests. It'll look pretty much like this. The basic procedures are pretty straightforward. You're going to have to do test corrections. If you received a grade lower than 70%, you are required to set up a time with your science teacher to come to office hours and go over your corrections. Science teacher is going to ask some questions, look over to make sure you did all the corrections correctly, and ask you some things about it to make sure you understand the material you missed and you're now confident that you're ready to retest and do better. Once we're confident that you have done enough to study and are ready, or you've asked any questions you didn't understand, we can then set up a time to retest. If you scored higher than 70% or 70% or higher, that time to come back in with the teacher is open to you. We highly recommend it, but it is not mandatory. The corrections worksheet. We give you 3 columns to work out. In column number 1, we've already put in all of the test questions. Column number 2, you only need to put anything in here for the questions you got wrong. In column number 2, you provide what the correct answer is. Now, if it's a multiple choice question, Google form has already given you the right answer when we return the test to you. So that's not the big part. The big part is this 3rd column where you need to go back to all the things that we did in Google Classroom, and you need to find where is this information coming from for this question, and you need to summarize that information here. You need to be very specific and detailed. It's important to remember the retest is not the exact same test, just scrambled up. They are different questions. There's no sense in just trying to memorize the answers to this one test. It won't be the same test. It won't be the same questions, but it will be on the same content. You missed a question because you didn't know the material. We need you to go back and learn the material and come back to us and show you understand it. Now, how to get the test? Well, let's take a look. When you log into Wake ID, the first thing you're going to need to always do is launch your Google Drive. And I say that just because a lot of the other things that you click on, launching your Google Drive lets the browser know which Google account you're using. Open up your email, that's your Outlook for students, and look for an email that's coming from your science teacher, either myself or Ms. Diaz-Brown. And it will have our email address, and it will say score release and the name of the test. Now, on that email, this is automatically generated by Google when it sends back. It's going to tell you what the name of the test was, your numeric score, and it'll have a link to go to click and view. Now, I do need to pause here. Occasionally, more often than we would like, and for reasons that just don't understand us, you can't always see where it says view. Right now, it's a white font on a kind of brownish, purplish background, so it's easy to see. Sometimes that background is white, and white letters on white background are invisible. Let me show you an example of that. On this particular email, you can see that here was the name of the test and here was the numeric score, and you can't see the link. The link is there. 2 ways to see it. Right now you see that the pointer on my cursor is like an arrow. But when it gets over something that can be clicked on, it turns into the clicky finger. I can click on it from there. I can also click and drag like I'm highlighting text. And as I drag to the bottom of the box, it'll highlight it and it changes the background, so now I can see it. So 2 different ways to get there. Let's take a look at this score. Now, if I'm scrolling along, if I see an X and 0 out of 2 points, I know I got that question wrong. If I see a green check mark and 2 out of 2, I know I got that question right. But notice that for each one of the questions I got wrong, it's also telling me what the correct answer is. If it is a short response question that the teacher had to mark, there is the occasional where it will have a red X because it was looking for a particular spelling, but we've gone back and fixed it, and you'd still see the 2 out of 2. If it's a short answer question, you'll also see any of the comments that the teacher may have added. So what I do now is I take this test that I took, and I bring in and I take a look at my test correction form. Oops, sorry, wrong one. So on this test, me, the student, I missed this question on what is the age of an intrusion of igneous rock in relation to the sedimentary rocks it passed through. Well, I need to take a look at that. So I'm going to kind of split my screen. I'm going to bring up my test corrections next to it so that I can see them side by side. I need to find this question. So here it is, number 5. What is the age of an igneous intrusion? I now know the correct answer is always younger. Now, that was easy. Google gave that to me. What I really need to do is I need to come back and I need to go into my Google Classroom, and I need to go to the part of the units where we were going over landforms, because that's what this test was on, and I need to find the things that we're talking about that. So I need to come in, and for instance, I know in this reading they were talking about igneous intrusions. So I've got the sedimentary rocks and I've got the igneous rock that melted its way up through it. And I can see here on page 55 where it is telling me that the igneous rock layer is younger than the sedimentary rocks. So I see up here, because the sedimentary rocks had to be present before the molten rock cuts through them, the igneous rock must be younger than the layer it cuts through it. So that's what I'm going to write about over here. I'm going to say, in the reading, from rocks provide a timeline for Earth, on page 52, it said, now I can come over here and I can highlight that part and I can copy and I can paste. I also know in the Ed puzzle from, let's see, what date was the Ed puzzle? From 10/28. It said that if the knife cuts through the cake, so this says a lot. Notice I'm doing a whole lot of writing here. This is me going back and learning what I didn't know. I need to go back through the material. I need to dig through and find out what this is. I'm not getting the exact same question. It's easy that I could get any number of different questions worded differently that are still on the same concept. I need to understand the concept. So for every one of the questions I got wrong, I need to go through here and I need to do exactly that. What is the correct answer? But more importantly, where in all of the notes, where's in all the work that we did in class, where is this information found? And I need to summarize what I discovered. This is also a good place that if I can't find something or I'm not sure where it came from, go to office hours with my teacher, ask questions, and find out. Then I can get moving along. I can't retake the test until I understand the material. There's no just, hey, I'm feeling lucky, I'll probably do better next time. If I didn't know the material the first time, I got to know it the second time. So this is what we're going through. Again, If your score was a 70% or higher, we have to trust that you already knew most of the material. You've done what you need to do. You can go through and redo it. You do not have to come back to the teacher and go through the material again. It's up to you. If you would like to, you're welcome to. Just schedule a time with the teacher if and when you want to come in for office hours to talk about it. If you got less than a 70, you have to come in, and then you and the teacher will find an agreeable time to come in and retest. If you got higher than a 70%, hand in your test corrections, let the teacher know about it, and schedule a time with the teacher when you want to come in to take the retest.